A mammoth, its massive tusks gleaming in the pale Arctic light, stands frozen in time, its stomach still filled with undigested flowers, as if it stopped mid-step, caught in a sudden, catastrophic freeze. In 1901, explorers in Siberia stumbled upon this beast, the Beresovka mammoth, perfectly preserved, its last meal, a snapshot of a world that vanished in an instant. What could have stopped such a giant so abruptly? Was it a cosmic hammer striking the earth, a comet plunging from the heavens, or something stranger, perhaps a lost technology, a force beyond our understanding, whispering secrets of a forgotten age? And what of the whispers that an advanced civilization, one that rivaled our own, thrived before the ice melted, only to be swept away by floods that reshaped the globe? Could the fabled Atlantis, a city of legend, have been swallowed by those same waters, its ruins lying silent beneath the waves? These are not just stories, dear listener, but questions that tug at the edges of our history, pulling us into a world both familiar and utterly alien, a world we call the Ice Age. Picture yourself standing on a vast, windswept plain, where the horizon stretches endlessly under a sky heavy with snow. The air bites at your skin, sharp and dry, carrying the faint scent of frost and earth. Far in the distance, a wall of ice looms, hundreds of meters high, its surface glinting with a cold blue fire. This is no fleeting winter. This is an era that gripped the earth for millions of years, a time when glaciers carved mountains into jagged peaks, when seas sank to reveal lost lands, and when creatures larger than houses roamed alongside our ancestors, who huddled by fires, etching their lives into bone and stone. The Ice Age was not a single moment, but a grand, slow symphony of cold, a rhythm of freezing and thawing that reshaped the planet in ways we are still unraveling. Tonight, we will walk through that frozen world, not to chase answers, but to linger in its mysteries, to feel the weight of a time so vast it makes our own seem like a fleeting breath. What makes the Ice Age so captivating is not just its scale, but the enigmas it left behind. Consider the Beresovka mammoth again. When scientists examined its remains, they found buttercups and sedges in its stomach, plants that should have been long digested if the beast had died slowly. Instead, it was as if time stopped, freezing the creature in a moment of life. Some say a sudden climatic shift, a flash freeze, could explain it, a drop in temperature so rapid it locked the world in ice. Others, bolder in their thinking, propose a comet or asteroid struck the Earth around 12,900 years ago, during an event called the Younger Dryas, a mysterious cold snap that interrupted the warming planet. This theory, championed by voices like Graham Hancock, suggests a celestial impact unleashed floods and fires, wiping out not just megafauna but perhaps an advanced human civilization, one whose knowledge rivaled our own. Could such a society have existed, building cities on lands now submerged? Did they leave clues we have yet to decipher, hidden in the stones we walk upon? Then there is the tale of Atlantis, a story older than history itself. Plato spoke of a great island, a utopia of wealth and wisdom, swallowed by the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as myth. But what if the melting glaciers, releasing torrents of water as the Ice Age waned, drowned real lands that inspired the legend? Lands like Doggerland, a vast plain that once connected Britain to Europe, now lost beneath the North Sea, or Sunderland, a sunken continent in Southeast Asia, where humans and animals roamed freely. Could these have been home to cultures we have forgotten, their stories erased by rising waters? The Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513, shows an Antarctic coast free of ice, a detail that defies explanation unless ancient mariners knew of a world before the freeze. Was this knowledge passed down from a time when the Earth was greener, warmer, before the ice claimed it? These questions pull us deeper, like footprints leading into a snow-filled valley. The Ice Age was not just a time of cold, it was a crucible where life was tested, where survival demanded ingenuity and resilience. Humans, our ancestors, walked among giants, woolly mammoths with tusks like curved swords, saber-toothed cats with fangs that gleamed like ivory knives, and sloths so massive they could dig burrows the size of caves. Yet, as these creatures vanished, some in the blink of an eye, others over centuries, we are left wondering, was it the warming climate, shrinking their grassy plains into forests? Was it the spears of early hunters, growing ever sharper and more deadly? Or was it something else entirely? A force we cannot name, a shadow cast by beings or events beyond our grasp, some whisper of extraterrestrial hands, guiding the climate or even the fate of species, a theory as wild as it is unprovable, yet it lingers like a chill in the air. Let us pause for a moment, dear listener, and imagine standing on the edge of Beringia, a land bridge that once joined Asia to the Americas, now drowned beneath the Bering Strait. 20,000 years ago, you would have walked across it, your breath curling in the frigid air, following herds of caribou and mammoths. The wind would carry the howls of wolves, the distant crack of ice shifting under its own weight. This was a world where continents were reshaped, where seas retreated to reveal highways of tundra, and where the earth itself seemed to breathe, its glaciers advancing and retreating like a slow heartbeat. The science tells us this rhythm was driven by subtle shifts in the Earth's orbit, its tilt, its wobble cycles named after Milutin Milankovic, a Serbian thinker who saw patterns in the stars. Every 100,000 years, the Earth's path around the sun stretched into an ellipse, altering the seasons. Every 41,000 years, its tilt softened, cooling summers and letting snow pile into ice. Every 26,000 years, a gentle wobble changed how sunlight kissed the poles. These cycles, so slow they spanned countless human lives, built the Ice Age, layer by layer, snowflake by snowflake. Yet science alone does not hold all the answers. The Younger Dryas, that sudden plunge back into cold around 12,900 years ago, defies simple explanation. Some scientists point to a comet, its fragments raining fire and dust, triggering floods that swept across continents. Evidence lies in Greenland's ice cores, where layers of ash and rare metals hint at a cosmic impact. Others argue it was a natural hiccup, a shift in ocean currents or volcanic eruptions cloaking the sun. But what if the truth is stranger? Could an ancient civilization, armed with knowledge we cannot imagine, have meddled with the climate, only to fall victim to their own hubris? Or did beings from beyond the stars, watching from above, nudge the Earth's fate for reasons we will never know? These are the questions that keep us awake, staring into the dark, wondering what truths lie buried beneath the ice. The Ice Age was a world of contrasts, barren yet teeming with life, silent yet roaring with change. In the north, ice sheets stretched across what is now Canada, Europe, and Siberia, their weight carving valleys and scattering boulders like pebbles. In the south, jungles and deserts persisted, untouched by the frost, proving the planet's resilience. Herds of bison and reindeer grazed on grasses that clung to life in the cold, while predators stalked with eyes like embers. Humans, small but cunning, learned to wield fire, to shape stone, to follow the herds across vast plains. They painted their stories on cave walls, images of beasts and hunts that still speak to us across millennia. But did they also inherit secrets from a time before the ice, knowledge of stars or machines, passed down in whispers and lost to time? The Lascaux caves, with their 22,000-year-old paintings, show animals in vivid detail. Could they hide symbols of a deeper truth, a code we have yet to crack? As we stand on the threshold of this frozen saga, we must ask, what else lies hidden? The permafrost of Siberia yields mammoths and rhinos, their fur and flesh eerily intact, as if they could stir and walk again. In 2014, a reindeer carcass in Russia released anthrax, a pathogen sleeping for millennia, raising fears of ancient plagues awakening as the ice melts. Could there be more than diseases waiting beneath the frost tools, relics, or even bodies of a lost people, preserved like the Beresovka mammoth, holding clues to a forgotten history? And what of the future? The Ice Age we speak of, beginning 2,600,000 years ago, has not truly ended. We live in its latest interglacial, a warm pause that could give way to another freeze. Heinrich events, sudden coolings caused by collapsing ice sheets, occur every 10,000 years or so. Are we on the cusp of another, driven not by orbits but by our own hand, as warming destabilizes the poles? Or is there a greater plan at work, one we cannot see, guiding the Earth toward an unknown destiny? These mysteries are the heart of our journey tonight. We will wander through the Ice Age's vast landscapes, meet its giants, and trace the steps of our ancestors. We will explore the science that shaped this world and the conspiracies that challenge it. Each step will bring us closer to understanding not just the past, but our place in a story that stretches across deep time. The wind is rising, dear listener, and the snow is falling. Let us walk into the cold together, where every shadow holds a secret, every footprint a question. Hello, and welcome to Mystery History for Sleep. I am Mr. H, your guide through the quiet corners of the past, where history and wonder meet to lull you into rest. If these tales spark your curiosity, consider subscribing to the channel and tapping the bell to join us for more journeys into the unknown. Now, settle in, let the world fade, and let the Ice Age carry you forward. Deep in the heart of a frozen wilderness, a colossal shadow stirs 8 tons of muscle and fur charging through knee-deep snow. Tusks like scimitars slashing the air as it trumpets a warning that echoes across miles of barren tundra. This is no myth. This is the woolly mammoth, a behemoth that could trample forests and shake the ground with each step. Yet one day, without warning, entire herds vanished, leaving behind only bones and questions that haunt us still. What force could erase such giants from the earth? A hidden predator we have yet to name, a plague that struck like lightning, or perhaps an experiment gone awry from intelligences beyond our skies. As we delve into these creatures of the Ice Age, the megafauna that ruled a world of ice and wind, we uncover not just their lives, but the enigmas of their end mysteries that might rewrite everything we think we know about survival, extinction, and the shadows lurking in our planet's past. The woolly mammoth stands as the icon of this lost era, a creature engineered by nature to defy the unrelenting cold. Standing up to 11 feet at the shoulder, with a shaggy coat of coarse outer hairs overlaying a dense underwool that trapped heat like a living blanket, these animals were walking fortresses against the frost. Their tusks, spiraling up to 13 feet long, were not just weapons but tools used to scrape away snow for grazing or to battle rivals in thunderous clashes that must have reverberated like earthquakes. But look closer. Beneath that fur lay a layer of fat up to 9 centimeters thick, insulating their massive bodies, and even their blood carried adaptations, proteins that prevented freezing in the bitterest winds. Paleontologists have pieced this together from frozen specimens unearthed in Siberia and Alaska, where the permafrost acts as a natural refrigerator, preserving skin, hair, and even internal organs. One such find, a calf named Liuba discovered in 2007, revealed a trunk adapted for sucking up grasses in short bursts during the brief summers, when the tundra bloomed fleetingly before the long night returned. Yet, why did these perfectly adapted survivors disappear? Some herds lingered on isolated islands like Wrangell until 4,000 years ago, long after the pyramids rose in Egypt, close enough to our time that ancient humans might have shared tales of them around fires. Was it isolation that doomed them, or something more sinister, a genetic flaw amplified by an unseen hand? Venturing further into this gallery of giants, we encounter the Glyptodont, a bizarre armored wanderer that roamed the Americas like a living tank. Weighing up to 2 tons, with a shell composed of over 1,000 bony plates fused into an impenetrable dome, this creature resembled a supersized armadillo crossed with a tortoise. Its name, derived from Greek for carved tooth, hints at its specialized molars, grooved for grinding the tough, fibrous plants of the open plains. But do not mistake its lumbering gait for vulnerability. Recent studies of its forelimbs suggest it could rear up on hind legs, balancing its weight to deliver crushing blows with a tail clubbed like a mace, perhaps fending off predators or reaching higher foliage. Imagine the sight: a glyptodont standing tall, its shell gleaming under a pale sun, swinging that armored appendage in an arc that could shatter bones. Fossils from South America show these beasts lived in herds, grazing across vast grasslands, their shells providing not just protection but camouflage among rocky outcrops. Yet their extinction raises puzzles. Why did such armored survivors fade while smaller relatives like armadillos persist? Could a targeted disease have pierced their defenses, or was it a climatic shift that turned their habitats hostile overnight? Whispers among fringe theorists suggest extraterrestrial involvement, perhaps visitors who saw these creatures as threats or subjects for genetic tampering, altering ecosystems in ways that led to collapse. The evidence? Unexplained mass graves where dozens lie together, as if herded to a single doom. No less astonishing are the giant ground sloths, a family of behemoths that turned the lazy image of modern sloths on its head. The largest, Megatherium, towered at 20 feet when standing, weighing up to 4 tons, with claws like scythes that could rip through earth or flesh with equal ease. These were no tree dwellers. They strode the ground on powerful limbs, their skeletons revealing a center of gravity over the hind feet, allowing bipedal stances for foraging or defense. In Argentina's Mar del Plata, paleo burrows stretch 40 meters long and nearly 2 meters wide, claw marks etched into the walls matching the sloth's distinctive digits, proof they excavated vast underground networks, perhaps to escape the scorching days of interglacial warmth or the prowling saber-toothed cats. A 2020 study of fossils from Tanque Loma in Ecuador uncovered 22 individuals, from juveniles to adults, clustered in what was once a watering hole, suggesting social behaviors. They gathered, wallowed in mud to cool off and ward off insects, much like today's hippos. Their diversity was staggering: 27 genera across 4 families, spreading from North America to the Caribbean, adapting to forests, plains, and even semi-aquatic niches. But herein lies the riddle. How did these versatile giants, capable of digging fortresses and congregating for safety, succumb so completely? Droughts might have trapped them, as the Ecuador site implies, but mass die-offs across continents point to a broader cataclysm. Conspiracy circles murmur of ancient bioweapons, perhaps unleashed by a pre-human intelligence, or even time anomalies, where portals in the fabric of reality swallowed entire populations. Ideas as unprovable as they are, irresistible, fueling endless debate. Among the predators that stalked these herbivores, the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon, emerges as a nightmare incarnate. With fangs up to 7 inches long, curved like daggers for puncturing throats and severing arteries, this feline was built for ambush, its muscular frame allowing leaps that could topple prey twice its size. Fossils from California's La Brea tar pits, where thousands perished in sticky traps over 30,000 years, show packs hunting together, coordinating to isolate the weak from herds. Their bite force, though not the strongest, was precise, aimed at vital spots to minimize risk. Yet, why did these apex hunters vanish alongside their quarry? Was it starvation as megafauna dwindled, or a more insidious threat? Some speculate a viral outbreak, engineered or natural, that jumped from prey to predator, wiping out chains of life in a domino effect. Others point to human encroachment, but with a twist. Could early shamans or forgotten societies have wielded poisons or traps from lost knowledge, altering the balance forever? The tar pits themselves hold clues. Entombed remains suggest sudden influxes of animals, as if driven by panic, perhaps fleeing a greater disaster we cannot fathom. Equally formidable was the dire wolf, larger and more robust than today's grey wolves, with jaws capable of crushing bone to extract marrow. Packs of these beasts, numbering up to 30, roamed the Mammoth Steppe, their howls a symphony of terror under the aurora-lit skies. Skeletal analyses reveal adaptations for endurance hunts, pursuing bison or horses across endless plains until exhaustion claimed the prey. But their extinction mirrors the megafauna. Puzzle fossils show healthy populations until an abrupt end. Could climate alone be the culprit, or did a cosmic event, like the proposed Younger Dryas impact, unleash radiation or atmospheric changes that poisoned the food chain? Fringe theories propose interdimensional shifts, where rifts in reality pulled these wolves into voids, leaving echoes in folklore as hellhounds or spectral guardians, tales that persist in cultures worldwide, hinting at truths buried in myth. The short-faced bear, Arctodus, adds another layer to this menagerie of monsters. Standing 12 feet tall on hind legs, with a snout shortened for a vice-like bite, this carnivore could sprint at 40 miles per hour, outpacing modern grizzlies to steal kills or hunt outright. Its range spanned from Alaska to Mexico, fossils indicating a diet heavy in meat, scavenged or fresh. Yet, like the others, it disappeared around 11,000 years ago, its massive frame no match for whatever force swept the giants away. Was it competition with incoming humans, armed with fire and spears, or a subtler demise, perhaps geomagnetic reversals during the Ice Age? disrupting navigation and breeding patterns in ways we are only beginning to understand? Some theorists link this to ancient astronaut hypotheses, suggesting visitors from the stars culled these beasts to pave the way for human dominance, a selective extinction event masked as natural. As we survey these vanished titans, patterns emerge that defy easy explanation. Bergman's rule explains their size. Larger bodies retain heat better in cold climes, with lower surface-to-volume ratios minimizing loss. The Pleistocene epoch, from 2,600,000 to 11,700 years ago, favored such gigantism, pressure from the environment sculpting survivors like sculptors with ice chisels. Woolly rhinoceroses, with dual horns and thick hides, charged through blizzards. Steppe bison, ancestors of today's herds, migrated in thundering masses. Cave lions, twice the size of African lions, ruled with coordinated prides. Each adapted uniquely. Mammoths with blood that resisted freezing, sloths with shovel-like claws for burrowing, glyptodonts with tails as weapons. Yet, their collective fall around the end of the last glacial period, from 115,000 to 11,700 years ago, sparks endless curiosity. Climate warmed, forests encroached on open plains, fragmenting habitats, but was that enough? Human hunters arrived, their tools evolving from crude stones to Clovis points, fluted spears that pierced deep. Isotope studies on the Anzic child, buried 12,700 years ago in Montana, show diets rich in mammoth, suggesting specialized predation. But the timeline tantalizes. In Australia, 85% of megafauna vanished within 4,000 years of human arrival, around 40,000 years ago. Fungal spores in sediments, proxy population crashes, wildfires and shrubland shifts predating but accelerating with hunters. These animals reproduce slowly, vulnerable to even moderate pressure. In the Americas, the pattern repeats. Clovis, people spread, and giants fall. Yet, anomalies persist. Wrangel Island mammoths survived in isolation, dwindling in size but enduring until the time of pharaohs. Why some, not all? Conspiracy minds see design, perhaps an ancient bioweapon, released intentionally or accidentally, targeting large mammals, or electromagnetic pulses from solar flares, amplified by orbital changes, disrupting neural systems. Even wilder, time travelers meddling with the timeline, erasing threats to ensure human ascent, ideas echoed in science fiction, but rooted in unexplained gaps in the fossil record. The La Brea tar pits offer a window into this chaos, a natural trap that ensnared over 4,000 dire wolves and hundreds of saber-tooths. Their bones mingled with mammoths and sloths. The pits bubbled with asphalt, luring thirsty animals only to ensnare them, predators drawn to the struggling prey. Layers show pulses of entrapment, as if waves of panic drove fauna there, fleeing what? A shifting climate, or a cataclysm like the proposed Clovis comet, fragments impacting North America and igniting fires across hemispheres. Nanodiamonds in sediments, black mats of soot, the evidence mounts, yet debates rage. Could this event have been engineered? A celestial weapon in an interstellar conflict, with Earth as collateral? Such thoughts, though speculative, explain the suddenness. Healthy populations, 1 millennium, ghosts, the next. In Ecuador's Tanque Loma, sloth bones tell a similar tale. 22 individuals perishing together in a drying waterhole, disease or starvation, claiming them as drought gripped the land. Yet, their sociable nature shines through, wallowing like modern elephants, suggesting bonds we rarely attribute to prehistoric beasts. Did they communicate in low rumbles, warning of dangers? And what dangers human spears, or anomalous weather patterns hinting at manipulated climates? Theorists point to ancient texts, like the Mahabharata's descriptions of flying machines and devastating weapons, suggesting Ice Age survivors encoded memories of such events. As we ponder these enigmas, the megafauna's legacy endures in our imagination, their bones museums of might and mystery. Why did evolution favor such scale, only to discard it? Was the Ice Age a grand experiment, life's laboratory testing limits, or a stage for forces we cannot comprehend? These questions linger, unanswered, drawing us deeper into the frost-bound past, where every fossil whispers of worlds lost and secrets yet to be unearthed. As we linger on these vanished giants, dear listener, where are you hearing this tale unfold? From a quiet corner under starlit skies, or perhaps a cozy room as night deepens? What hour does the clock show where you are, marking this moment we share across time? As we linger on these vanished giants, dear listener, where are you hearing this tale unfold? From a quiet corner under starlit skies, or perhaps a cozy room as night deepens? What hour does the clock show where you are, marking this moment we share across time? Imagine a spear, crafted from flint and bone, hurtling through the frigid air with deadly precision, piercing the hide of a colossal mammoth as a group of shadowy figures encircle it under a blood moon, their chants echoing like omens of doom. Was this the moment humanity tipped the scales, turning hunter into harbinger of extinction? Or was there a darker hand at play, a celestial rock smashing into the planet, unleashing chaos that erased entire species in a blink? Or perhaps forces beyond the veil, supernatural entities or ancient curses that orchestrated the fall of the giants? These are the threads we pull now, unraveling the tangled web of megafauna extinctions, where science meets speculation and every answer spawns 10 more questions, leaving us to wonder if the true culprits still lurk in the shadows of our history, waiting to strike again. The Pleistocene epoch, that vast stretch from 2,600,000 years ago to 11,700 years ago, ended not with a whimper, but a vanishing act. 72 to 88% of large-bodied creatures wiped from Australia, North America, and South America in waves that defy simple logic. Picture the scene. Herds of woolly mammoths, once numbering in the thousands, thundering across the Eurasian steppes, their trumpets a symphony of life, suddenly silenced. In North America, the Clovis people, ancient ancestors of Native Americans, emerged around 13,000 years ago, armed with distinctive spear points, fluted, razor-sharp tools that could be hurled up to 40 meters with lethal accuracy. These were not mere scavengers, they were masters of the hunt, organizing ambushes that felled beasts many times their size. A pivotal clue comes from the Anzac child, an 18-month-old buried 12,700 years ago in Montana, whose bones, analyzed through stable isotopes, reveal that mammoth meat comprised 40% of the maternal diet. This was no occasional feast. It points to specialization, entire communities reliant on these giants, perhaps driving them to the brink through relentless pressure. But was it overkill alone? The timing is suspiciously precise. Within a few thousand years of Clovis expansion, the megafauna collapsed, leaving kill sites scattered like accusations across the landscape. Skeptics argue coincidence, but the pattern repeats globally. In Australia, humans arrived around 40,000 years ago, and within 4,000 years, 85% of large mammals vanished, their populations tracked through fungal spores in herbivore dung, a proxy that charts a steep decline amid wildfires and shifting woodlands. These animals reproduce slowly, a single offspring every few years, making them exquisitely vulnerable. Even low-intensity hunting could shatter their numbers. Yet, why no rebound? Why did smaller creatures thrive while the titans fell? This gap invites darker theories, ones that suggest humanity was not acting alone, perhaps aided by knowledge or tools from realms we dare not name. Enter the Younger Dryas, that enigmatic cold snap around 12,900 years ago, a brutal reversal of warming trends that plunged the planet back into glacial grip for over a millennium. Scientists point to a comet or asteroid fragmenting over North America, its impacts igniting continent-wide fires, evidenced by nanodiamonds, tiny crystals formed under extreme pressure scattered in sediments from Canada to Europe. Black mats of soot layer the ground at sites like Murray Springs in Arizona, where Clovis tools lie alongside mammoth bones, as if the hunters themselves were caught in the cataclysm. The theory, bolstered by researchers like Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, posits multiple strikes, melting ice sheets and unleashing floods that raise sea levels by meters in days, drowning land bridges and habitats. Imagine the chaos: skies darkened by dust, temperatures plummeting, plants withering, as acid rain fell, conditions that would starve herbivores, collapsing food chains from the bottom up. But here's the intrigue. Why does the evidence cluster around human settlements? Some whisper of a targeted event, a cosmic weapon in an interstellar war, with Earth as the battlefield. The megafauna collateral damage in a conflict waged by beings from the stars. Others see supernatural fingerprints, ancient deities or spirits enraged by human hubris, summoning meteors as divine retribution, echoes of which survive in myths like the Norse Ragnarok or Native American tales of sky-fall and fire. The questions multiply. If a comet, why no massive crater? Proponents argue airbursts, exploding mid-atmosphere like the Tunguska event in 1908, but scaled up to apocalyptic levels. And what of the iridium spikes, rare metals from space, found in Greenland ice cores precisely at the Younger Dryas boundary? Coincidence or clue to a cover-up, where modern governments suppress findings to hide our fragile place in the cosmos? Neanderthals add another layer to this extinction enigma. Their disappearance around 40,000 years ago, a puzzle wrapped in our own DNA. These stocky cousins, adapted to the cold with short limbs, large noses that warmed inhaled air, and brains as large as ours, thrived for hundreds of thousands of years, crafting tools, burying their dead with rituals, and even creating art in caves like Bruniquel in France, where stalagmite circles date to 176,000 years ago. They hunted in groups, using fire to cook and harden spears, their culture sophisticated enough to include ornaments and perhaps language. Yet, as Homo sapiens spread from Africa, Neanderthals faded, absorbed through interbreeding, as evidenced by 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA in most Europeans and Asians today, or outcompeted in a Darwinian struggle for resources. Data suggests coexistence in Europe for several thousand years, sharing landscapes without immediate conflict. But in scarce times, sapiens' energy-efficient bodies taller, leaner, requiring less food gave an edge. Neanderthals' robust builds demanded more calories, a disadvantage when game grew thin. But was it mere competition? Some theories venture into the supernatural. Perhaps Neanderthals possessed innate abilities, like heightened intuition or connection to unseen forces, that sapiens envied and sought to eradicate through shadowy pacts or rituals. Fringe ideas propose they were star seeds, descendants of extraterrestrial visitors, their extinction a deliberate purge to ensure sapiens' dominance, leaving genetic echoes as a subtle legacy. Why else do we find Neanderthal burials with red ochre and flowers, symbols of afterlife beliefs that mirror ancient shamanic practices? And consider the hybrid children viable yet rare, hinting at barriers not just biological, but perhaps ethereal, as if crossing species invoked curses or cosmic taboos. Australia's megafauna extinctions amplify the intrigue. A continent isolated until humans bridged the seas around 40,000 years ago. Giant kangaroos like Procoptodon, standing 10 feet tall with faces like koalas, but built for bounding across savannas. Diprotodon, wombat-like herbivores the size of rhinos, weighing 3 tons. And Megalania, a lizard up to 23 feet long, venomous and apex. These vanish swiftly, spore records showing population crashes amid environmental shifts, woodlands turning to shrubs, wildfires raging, but the human arrival coincides too neatly. Low reproduction rates made them easy targets. Even sporadic hunts could doom them. But why no adaptation? Theorists suggest ghosts in the machine, perhaps electromagnetic anomalies from solar maximums, disrupting animal migrations and breeding, or ancient curses tied to Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, where ancestral spirits punished intruders by summoning droughts and fires. Deeper still, some link it to ley lines, Earth's energy grids allegedly manipulated by lost civilizations, aligning extinction events with sacred sites. The Warratee Rock Shelter in South Australia, occupied 29,000 years ago, yields tools alongside megafauna bones, evidence of interaction. But was it harmonious or harbinger? In South America, the pattern echoes. Giant ground sloths like Eremotherium, browsing on leaves with tongues extended like giraffes, or Toxodon, rhino-hippo hybrids grazing riversides. Their end aligns with human migration via Beringia, but anomalies abound, mass graves where dozens lie jumbled as if fleeing a common terror. The Campo Laborde site in Argentina shows butchery marks on glyptodont shells, proving hunts, yet the scale suggests organization beyond primitive means. Conspiracy lenses see Atlantean refugees, fleeing their sinking homeland around 12,000 years ago, bringing advanced hunting tech, perhaps energy weapons disguised as spears that accelerated collapses. Plato's Atlantis, detailed in his dialogues, describes a society with metals and elephants, mammoths, destroyed by catastrophe, survivors scattering to the Americas. Could their knowledge, preserved in oral traditions like the Mayan Popol Vuh's creation myths involving giants, explain the sudden efficiency of extinctions? North America's story intensifies with the Clovis Comet hypothesis, where impacts around 12,900 years ago created the Carolina Bays, thousands of elliptical craters oriented northwest as if blasted from the Great Lakes region. Sediments there hold microspherules, magnetic grains from high heat events, supporting a barrage that ignited forests, acidified soils, and triggered the Younger Dryas freeze. Megafauna, already stressed, would starve as vegetation failed. Humans, adaptable, survived, but perhaps at a cost amnesia of pre-impact cultures. Hancock argues for a lost civilization, evidenced by Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built 11,600 years ago, with pillars depicting comets, as if warning of the event. Was this a global reset, orchestrated by higher powers to cull overgrown species and restart evolution? Supernatural angles invoke fallen angels or interdimensional beings, drawing from Enochian texts where watchers taught humanity forbidden knowledge, only to unleash floods as punishment. Parallels to the biblical deluge, where giants, Nephilim, roamed before the waters came. Neanderthal genetics add fuel. Their DNA boosts our immune systems but also links to diseases like lupus, as if a double-edged inheritance. Did sapiens wage a subtle war, using pathogens or psychological tactics rooted in shamanism? Caves like Shanidar in Iraq show Neanderthal burials with pollen, suggesting flowers for the dead, rituals that might have invoked spirits, backfiring in ways we cannot grasp. Theories of species memory propose collective traumas encoded in genes, explaining modern anxieties as echoes of ancient rivalries. Australia's Thylacoleo, the marsupial lion with bolt-cutter jaws, vanished amid human fires that reshaped landscapes, intentional burns for hunting, or accidental infernos from comet debris. Pollen records show vegetation shifts, but Dreamtime legends speak of Bunyip, monstrous beings that could be folk memories of these cats, cursed to extinction by ancestral wrongs. In Eurasia, cave bears 17 feet tall, when rearing filled hibernation dens, their bones piled in cathedrals of death. Human art depicts them, but was reverence or fear the motive? Some see Ursine cults, where bears were demigods, their extinction a sacrilege punished by nature's wrath. These threads weave a tapestry of uncertainty, human overkill, climatic whims, cosmic strikes, or supernatural schemes. Each theory tantalizes, promising revelations just out of reach, urging us to question if extinctions were random or rigged, if the giant's fall was fate or foul play. The fossils accuse, the timelines tease, and the mysteries endure, challenging us to peer into the abyss, where science ends and the unknown begins, forever altering how we view our precarious perch on this ever-changing planet. Beneath the churning waves of the North Sea lies a ghost continent, a sprawling land of rivers and hills where ancient humans once hunted and gathered, now drowned and forgotten, whispering secrets of a world that slipped away as the ice melted. This is Doggerland, a vanished realm larger than the United Kingdom, connecting Britain to Europe in a seamless tapestry of terrain, its submersion a riddle that echoes the legend of Atlantis itself, a paradise lost to cataclysmic floods, perhaps hiding ruins of a civilization more advanced than we dare imagine. As we navigate the Ice Age landscapes, these lost domains emerge not as mere geographical curiosities, but as portals to profound enigmas. Why did seas retreat to birth new worlds, only to swallow them whole? Were these sunken lands cradles of forgotten empires, mapped by seafarers with knowledge defying time? And what if the melting glaciers unleashed not just water, but forces that reshaped human destiny, leaving clues in ancient charts and submerged artifacts that challenge everything we know about our origins? Doggerland stands as one of the most tantalizing casualties of the Ice Age's end, a vast plain exposed when sea levels plummeted over 120 meters, locking billions of tons of water in towering ice sheets. Stretching from Scotland's Shetland Islands to the Netherlands and Denmark, this landmass, named after the Dogger Bank fishing grounds, spanned over 18,000 square kilometers at its peak around 20,000 years ago. Archaeological dredges from the seafloor reveal flint tools, harpoons carved from antler, and even mammoth bones etched with human marks, evidence of Mesolithic hunters traversing birch forests and marshy rivers, perhaps building settlements along now-vanished coastlines. The Rhine and Thames once flowed as a single mighty river through this expanse, feeding lakes teeming with fish and waterfowl, a hunter's paradise where communities thrived in the shadow of retreating glaciers. But as temperatures climbed during the Holocene, around 11,700 years ago, the ice relented, unleashing meltwater pulses that raised seas inexorably. What cataclysm accelerated this? Some point to the bursting of glacial Lake Agassiz in North America, a body larger than all the Great Lakes combined. Its collapse around 8,200 years ago, sending torrents equivalent to 15 times the Amazon's flow, carving channels like the English Channel's precursors. Doggerland drowned gradually at first, then violently tsunamis from underwater landslides, like the Storegga slide off Norway around 8,150 years ago, may have delivered the final blow. Waves up to 25 meters high crashing over the lowlands. Survivors' tales, passed down through oral traditions, might have birthed flood myths across Europe. But here's the curiosity. Sonar mappings reveal submerged forests and river valleys, perfectly preserved, as if time halted mid-breath. Could Doggerland have hosted a more organized society, with trade routes and monuments now entombed? Artifacts like the Kalinda harpoon, dredged in 1931, date to 10,000 years ago, hinting at seafaring prowess earlier than thought. Theorists speculate it as a northern Atlantis, a hub where Ice Age refugees converged, their knowledge lost to the depths, perhaps explaining enigmatic structures like Stonehenge, built nearby around 5,000 years ago, aligned to solstices, as if remembering a submerged past. Shifting our gaze eastward, Sundaland emerges as an even grander enigma, a sunken supercontinent in Southeast Asia, where Indonesia's islands fused into a landmass rivaling South America in scope, over 1,800,000 square kilometers exposed by the same glacial lockup of oceans. Borneo, Sumatra, Java, and the Malay Peninsula blended seamlessly, the shallow Sunda Shelf transforming into rolling plains crisscrossed by mighty rivers like an extended Mekong and Chao Phraya, flowing into vast inland seas or lagoons. 20,000 years ago, this was a biodiversity hotspot, tigers prowling mangrove fringes, orangutans swinging through lowland forests, and early humans migrating southward, their footprints preserved in volcanic ash layers. The Wallace Line, that invisible boundary separating Asian and Australian faunas, sharpened here, elephants and rhinos roamed the west, while marsupials like giant wombats claimed the east, a natural divide etched by deep trenches that resisted the sea's retreat. But as glaciers thawed, waters rose, fracturing Sundaland into today's archipelago, around 7,000 years ago, with pulses tied to Antarctic melt events. Intriguingly, genetic studies of modern Indonesians show admixtures from ancient populations, including Denisovan's mysterious hominins whose DNA lingers in Papuans and Filipinos, suggesting interbreeding on these lost lands. What societies flourished here? Sundaland's submersion coincides with rising sea myths in Hindu epics like the Ramayana, describing vanished kingdoms swallowed by oceans. Could it be Kumari Kandam, the legendary Tamil continent, or a real precursor to Angkor's hydraulic empires? Satellite imagery reveals underwater ridges resembling man-made structures off Java, fueling speculation of pyramid-like ruins, perhaps from a culture that harnessed monsoons for agriculture long before rice terraces. Conspiracy angles intensify. The Bimini Road in the Bahamas, often linked to Atlantis, has parallels in Sundaland's submerged features, straight stone formations that some claim are roads or walls, engineered by a pre-flood civilization with advanced surveying from extraterrestrial guides. Why else do ancient maps like the Piri Reis, compiled in 1513 from older sources, depict coastlines with uncanny accuracy, including a de-iced Antarctica that matches modern radar scans? Piri Reis himself noted sources from Alexander the Great's era, implying knowledge preserved through cataclysms, perhaps from Sundaland seafarers who navigated the Indian Ocean before the waters claimed their homes. Further south, Sahul beckons as another spectral giant emerged Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania, sprawling 12 million square kilometers, nearly equaling Antarctica's icy expanse, but teeming with life in a dry glacial grip. The Torres Strait, now a shallow divide, vanished entirely, creating a continuous land where Aboriginal ancestors walked from Asia via Sunderland's fringes around 65,000 years ago. Their rock art in Arnhem Land depicting megafauna hunts with boomerangs and spears. Tasmania, often scorching today, bore glaciers capping its highlands, while the mainland's interior lakes like Mungo swelled with meltwater, cradling human settlements evidenced by 42,000-year-old burials. As seas rose, Sahul fragmented around 7,000 years ago, isolating populations and ecosystems. New Guinea's highlands preserving unique birds of paradise, Australia retaining kangaroos and emus. But enigmas abound. Why do Sahul's rock paintings show thylacines, Tasmanian tigers, long after their mainland extinction, as if memories of a connected world lingered? Genetic traces in dingoes suggest arrivals via land bridges, but timelines clash, hinting at undocumented voyages. Theorists link Sahul to Lemuria, a hypothetical Pacific continent proposed by 19th-century biologists to explain faunal distributions, later co-opted into occult lore as a psychic realm where advanced beings experimented with evolution. Madame Blavatsky's theosophy claimed Lemurians as 7-foot giants with third eyes, their downfall a volcanic cataclysm mirroring Ice Age upheavals. Could submerged plateaus off Australia's east coast hide their remnants, as side-scan sonar suggests anomalous formations? The Gunung Padang site in Indonesia, dated controversially to 20,000 years ago, with layered megaliths, might be a Sunderland Sahul outpost, its pyramids aligned to stars, implying astronomical savvy, predating known civilizations. Turning westward, the Persian Gulf transforms into a fertile valley, a dry expanse linking Arabia to Iran, turning the Arabian Peninsula into a landlocked extension of Asia. 20,000 years ago, this Persian river valley, fed by the Tigris and Euphrates, bloomed with oases amid arid steppes, a corridor for human migrations from Africa to Eurasia. As waters rose, it flooded around 6,000 years ago, perhaps inspiring Sumerian flood epics like Gilgamesh, where Utnapishtim builds an ark against divine wrath. Intrigue peaks with underwater ruins off Gujarat. India, the Gulf of Cambay structures, sonar mapped in 2001, showing grid-like patterns at depths, implying 20,000-year-old origins. Carbon-dated wood artifacts supporting pre-Ice Age habitation. Could this be a Persian Gulf extension of Harappan precursors, or Atlantis's eastern echo? The Piri Reis map again intrigues, depicting the Americas with pre-Columbian accuracy. Sources allegedly from Christopher Columbus and ancient libraries. Did Ottoman admirals access Ice Age charts, preserved by secret societies guarding antediluvian knowledge? In the Mediterranean, the Gibraltar Strait's closure theories fascinate. During peak glaciation, tectonic shifts and low seas might have dammed it, turning the sea into evaporating lakes, exposing vast plains where early humans roamed. Plato's Atlantis, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, Gibraltar, describes a circular city with concentric rings, sunk 9,000 years before his time around, 11,500 years ago, aligning with Younger Dryas floods. Santorini's eruption around 1600 BCE offers a partial match, but scale falls short. Instead, some pinpoint the Azores Plateau, a submerged mid-Atlantic ridge with hot springs and ruins-like formations, or even the Richat structure in Mauritania, an eroded dome matching Plato's descriptions, ice-free during the African humid period ending around 5,000 years ago. Conspiracy weaves in, Freemasonic symbols echoing Atlantean lore, or Nazi expeditions to Antarctica seeking Thule, a supposed Atlantean outpost. The Antarctic Piri Reis coast, drawn as if from aerial views, matches subglacial maps from 1960 seismic surveys, implying ancient flight tech, or satellite-like observation alien aid, or lost human ingenuity. North America's transformations rival these. The Laurentide ice sheet, 3 kilometers thick over Canada, depressed the crust, birthing Lake Agassiz Ojibwe, whose outburst carved the street, Lawrence Valley. Beringia, The bridge from Siberia to Alaska spanned 1,600 kilometers, a treeless tundra traversed by humans around 16,000 years ago. It's drowning around 10,000 years ago, stranding populations. Mysteries here include the Solutrean hypothesis, European-style tools in America predating Clovis, suggesting Atlantic crossings on ice floes, perhaps from a Doggerland diaspora. The Gulf of Mexico's lowlands extended Florida twofold, with sinkholes preserving Ice Age fauna, but underwater caves like Hoyo Negro yield 13,000-year-old skeletons. Nair the teenager, her DNA linking to Native Americans yet posing migration riddles. Europe's Fennoscandian sheet blanketed Scandinavia to Siberia, draining the Baltic into freshwater lakes, while the Alps hosted isolated glaciers. The West Siberian Lake, 880,000 square kilometers, formed when ice dammed the Ob and Yenisei rivers, its bursts perhaps flooding the Black Sea around 7,600 years ago, inspiring Noah's tale. Pontic Caspian steppes, now grassy, were Ice Age refugia. Birthing Indo-European languages did submerged coasts hide proto-cities. Africa, least altered, saw expanded Sahara lakes, but Kilimanjaro's glaciers grew, and the Congo basin shrank. Mysteries linger in Saharan rock art, depicting swimming figures in now desert lands, echoing a greener era ending abruptly. These landscapes, reshaped by ice, pose endless curiosities. Were they stages for lost histories, mapped in enigmas like Piri Reis, or battlegrounds for supernatural forces? The sea's rise hid truths, but as we probe deeper, the boundaries between fact and fantasy blur, inviting us to question if the Ice Age's end was natural or nudged by unseen architects, their motives as inscrutable as the depths themselves. As we stand on the shores of these vanished lands, dear listener, if these mysteries spark your wanderlust, consider joining our journey by subscribing to Mystery History for Sleep and tapping the bell to catch every tale we unearth. Wherever you are, what lost lands do you imagine beneath the waves tonight? What if the Earth's very spin, a wobble so subtle it takes 26,000 years to complete a single cycle, holds the key to unleashing another ice age, one that could bury our modern world under miles of frozen silence? Or worse, what if these cosmic rhythms are not mere accidents of gravity, but orchestrated by unseen architects, ancient forces, or extraterrestrial intelligences, timing the planet's chills to reset civilizations like clockwork? These are the tantalizing puzzles embedded in the Milankovitch cycles, the astronomical dances that have dictated ice ages for millions of years, raising questions that chill the spine. Are we on the brink of the next glacial plunge? And could human meddling accelerate it into something far more terrifying than nature intended? The Milankovitch cycles, named after the Serbian mathematician Milutin Milankovic, who unraveled them in the early 20th century, operate on scales that dwarf human history, yet their effects have sculpted our world with unforgiving precision. At their core are three interlocking mechanisms: eccentricity, obliquity, and precession, each a slow, inexorable shift in Earth's relationship with the Sun, altering the distribution of sunlight and tipping the balance toward ice or thaw. Eccentricity refers to the shape of Earth's orbit, which stretches from nearly circular to more elliptical every 100,000 years, influenced by the gravitational tugs of Jupiter and Saturn. In a highly elliptical phase, the planet swings farther from the Sun at aphelion and closer at perihelion, amplifying seasonal extremes. Winters grow harsher in one hemisphere, summers milder, allowing snow to accumulate unchecked. Imagine the northern latitudes receiving 23% less solar radiation during summer, just enough to let winter's ice linger, layer upon layer, until glaciers swell and advance like living entities. This cycle dominates the Ice Age pattern, explaining the roughly 100,000-year intervals between major glaciations, as seen in Antarctic ice cores that preserve air bubbles from 400,000 years ago, their isotopic ratios charting these orbital mood swings. Then comes obliquity, the tilt of Earth's axis, oscillating between 22 and 24.5 degrees every 41,000 years. Our current 23.4 degrees gives us balanced seasons, but a shallower tilt dims summer sunlight at the poles, preventing full melt and fostering ice sheet growth. Visualize the Arctic Circle under a perpetual twilight haze, where the sun's rays glance off at shallow angles, their warmth wasted on reflection rather than absorption. Milankovitch calculated that even a 1-degree shift could alter global temperatures by several degrees, enough to lock away ocean water in polar caps, dropping sea levels and exposing land bridges like Beringia. The Vostok ice core from Antarctica, drilled in the 1980s, confirms this. Layers of deuterium and oxygen isotopes spike and dip in sync with obliquity, revealing how this axial lean has triggered interglacials like our Holocene, a brief warm spell that began 11,700 years ago. But curiosity beckons. What if this tilt is not random? Some fringe astronomers speculate geomagnetic influences from passing comets, or even artificial satellites from a bygone era, subtly nudging the axis to engineer climatic resets, a theory that gains eerie traction when aligned with ancient calendars like the Mayan long count, which ends cycles eerily close to Milankovitch peaks. Precession adds the final twist, a wobble in Earth's rotation like a slowing top, completing a cycle every 26,000 years as the moon and sun pull on the equatorial bulge. This shifts the timing of perihelion and aphelion relative to the seasons today. Earth's closest solar approach occurs in January, moderating northern winters, but 13,000 years ago, it aligned with northern summer, intensifying heat and melting ice faster. The combined effect? A planet where summers in high latitudes receive up to 15% more or less insolation, the critical threshold for ice persistence. Milankovitch's genius lay in merging his equations, derived from painstaking calculations without computers, predicted past ice ages with startling accuracy, validated by uranium-thorium dating of coral reefs that mark ancient sea levels. Yet, the cycles alone do not explain everything. Feedback loops amplify them. Expanding ice reflects more sunlight, albedo effect, cooling further, while dropping carbon dioxide levels, drawn into colder oceans, weaken the greenhouse blanket. Dansgaard-Oeschger events, sudden warmings every few thousand years, punctuate the record, perhaps from ocean current flips like the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation stalling, releasing heat bursts. Heinrich events, conversely, see massive ice armadas carving into the Atlantic every 10,000 years, freshening waters, and chilling Europe events mirrored in Greenland cores, where dust layers spike during cold snaps. But these scientific rhythms invite deeper intrigue. Why do they align so perfectly with human milestones? The last glacial maximum, around 22,000 years ago, saw ice sheets like the Laurentide blanketing North America to New York, its weight depressing the continent by hundreds of meters, only rebounding today at rates measurable by GPS. As it retreated, outbursts reshaped rivers. The Mississippi once flowed westward before Agassiz floods redirected it. In Europe, the Fennoscandian sheet sculpted fjords and scattered erratics. Boulders transported hundreds of kilometers. Yet, predictions for the future twist the narrative into something foreboding. Milankovitch projections suggest the next ice age in 50,000 years, but human-induced warming disrupts this carbon emissions trap heat, potentially delaying glaciation, or, paradoxically, triggering one sooner by melting Greenland and weakening the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, a conveyor that distributes warmth. Recent models from 2023 warn that if it collapses, Europe could cool by 10 degrees Celsius, winters lengthening as jet streams meander. Heinrich-like events loom. Antarctic shelves like Thwaites teeter. Their collapse could raise seas by 3 meters, but also freshen oceans, stalling currents and inviting cold. What if this is no accident? Conspiracy theorists point to geoengineering, cloud seeding, or aerosol injections by shadowy elites, allegedly testing climate weapons under programs like HARP, which some claim manipulates ionospheres to induce wobbles mimicking precession. Declassified documents from the Cold War reveal Project Cirrus, where hurricanes were seeded, extend that to orbital scales, and Milankovitch becomes a blueprint for control. Ancient texts fuel this. The Hindu Yuga cycles describe golden ages thawing into iron ones. Time to astronomical shifts were seers predicting or programming. These rhythms, Antarctica's subglacial lakes, like Vostok, hold water isolated for millions of years. Their microbes surviving in darkness. Drillings in 2012 accessed it, revealing life forms that metabolize without oxygen. Predictions warn melting could release these, or worse, methane clathrates bubbling from permafrost, amplifying warming in a runaway loop. But curiosity spikes. Russian expeditions in 2011 claimed Lake Vostok samples held unknown bacteria, sparking rumors of bioweapons or alien DNA preserved since the last interglacial. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959 bans military activity cover for hiding anomalies. Satellite anomalies show heat signatures under ice, perhaps geothermal, or artificial bases experimenting with cycle manipulation. In the Arctic, Siberian craters from 2014 erupt methane. Dragon's breath holes, linked to thawing permafrost predictions, estimate trillions of tons releasable, tipping us toward a hothouse Earth before any freeze. Yet Milankovitch insists on eventual cooling. Orbital forcing will overpower greenhouse gases in millennia unless we intervene. Geoengineers propose solar shields or iron fertilization, but what if predecessors tried? Atlantis legends speak of crystals harnessing energy, perhaps disrupting obliquity, causing their downfall. Egyptian pyramids aligned to precessional stars like Sirius, rising heliacally every 1,460 years coincidence, or encoding Milankovitch warnings. The V. Milankovitch cycles predict interglacials lasting 10 to 15,000 years. Ours is 12,000 old, nearing end. Sediment cores from the Cariaco Basin off Venezuela show abrupt shifts, mirroring Heinrich events. Future simulations from the Potsdam Institute suggest by 2100, if emissions peak, we delay the next ice age by 50,000 years. But overshoot could collapse biodiversity first. Intriguingly, Mars's obliquity swings wildly without a large moon, causing its own ice ages. Our moon stabilizes us, but theories posit it as artificial, placed to moderate cycles for life's benefit. Hollow moon hypotheses, from seismic data in 1969 Apollo missions, suggest engineered origins, timing Earth's rhythms to foster intelligence. Government predictions, like IPCC reports, downplay long-term cycles, focusing on near-term warming suppression of doomsday scenarios. Leaked cables from WikiLeaks hint at polar research blackouts, perhaps concealing cycle anomalies. Dansgaard, Oeschger's 20-plus events in the last glacial show. Rapid warmings of 8 degrees Celsius in decades. Modern analogues in Greenland, melt rates alarm, with 2024 seeing record losses. Could solar minima, like the Maunder from 1645 to 1715, interact with Milankovitch, amplifying cools? Predictions for a grand solar minimum by 2030 raise brows, colder winters ahead, or harbingers of deeper freeze. Conspiracy circles tie this to chemtrails, alleged sprays dimming sun to mimic eccentricity lows, tested by elites for control. In essence, Milankovitch cycles weave a cosmic tapestry. Their predictions a double-edged sword, delay the ice through warming or risk chaotic transitions. But the questions persist. What if these cycles are messages, encoded by creators, warning of resets? As we peer into orbital mechanics, the line between science and speculation thins, inviting us to ponder if the next prediction is not just climatic, but existential, a cycle where humanity itself faces the freeze or flood, orchestrated or inevitable, in the grand dance of the spheres. Envision a flickering flame in the depths of a cavern, casting elongated shadows on walls adorned with vivid ochre strokes, bison charging, hands imprinted like spectral signatures, and enigmatic symbols that seem to pulse with hidden meanings, as if the artists encoded messages from a realm beyond the visible. Were these Ice Age humans mere survivors scratching out existence amid blizzards and beasts, or guardians of arcane knowledge, their adaptations not just physical but laced with rituals that blurred the line between the mundane and the mystical? As we explore humanity's dance with fire and ice during this epoch, the story unfolds not as a linear tale of endurance, but a labyrinth of curiosities. How did scattered bands forge societies that echoed across millennia, and what forbidden insights might their cultures conceal, waiting to unravel our understanding of who we truly are? Humans of the Ice Age, spanning from Homo sapiens' emergence around 300,000 years ago to the glacial maximum 20,000 years ago, navigated a planet in perpetual flux, their ingenuity a beacon against the encroaching cold. Clad in furs sewn with bone needles, tools honed from mammoth ivory, or reindeer antler, they transformed animal hides into layered garments, trapping body heat in ingenious designs that modern mountaineers still emulate. The Gravettian culture, flourishing 29,000 to 20,000 years ago in Europe, perfected these, with parkas featuring hoods and boots insulated by grass linings, allowing treks across frozen tundras where temperatures plunged to -40 degrees Celsius. Fire became their ally, not just for warmth but as a forge. Controlled blazes, hardened spear points, cooked meat to unlock nutrients, and warded off predators whose eyes gleamed in the night. Archaeological sites like Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic, dated to 26,000 years ago, reveal kilns where clay figurines were fired at 800 degrees, hinting at early ceramics practical for storage, yet curiously artistic, as if experimentation blurred utility and expression. But what drove such innovation? Was it sheer necessity, or glimpses of deeper patterns, celestial alignments observed during endless winters, inspiring tools that mimicked the stars' precision? Hunting strategies evolved into orchestrated symphonies of strategy, where small bands coordinated drives over cliffs or into pitfalls, leveraging landscape against larger prey. The Solutrean people of Western Europe, around 22,000 years ago, crafted laurel leaf points bifacial blades so thin and sharp they could penetrate mammoth hide from afar, heat-treated for durability. Sites like Laugerie-Haute in France yield these artifacts alongside atlatls, spear throwers that extended range to 60 meters, turning humans into ranged warriors amid herds that could stampede in panic. Yet, the curiosity lies in the social web. How did these groups, often numbering fewer than 50, maintain cohesion across vast distances? Evidence from dental calculus ancient plaque shows sharing of medicinal plants like chamomile, suggesting knowledge networks, perhaps shamanic healers trading remedies during seasonal gatherings. In Siberia's Malta site, 24,000 years old, ivory beads and pendants imply adornment as status or ritual, binding communities through symbols. But probe deeper. Were these exchanges mere survival tactics, or veiled ceremonies invoking spirits of the hunt, as hinted by perforated fox teeth necklaces, possibly talismans to summon animal essences? Shelter innovations reveal a blend of pragmatism and enigma. From mammoth bone huts at Mezherik in Ukraine, 20,000 years ago, where 15-ton structures housed extended families, roofs thatched with hides and turf for insulation against winds, howling at 50 kilometers per hour. These circular dwellings, arranged in villages of up to 10, featured central hearths, venting smoke through chimneys. Early architecture, defying the nomadic stereotype. Inside, storage pits held dried meats and roots, sustaining through lean months when auroras danced overhead. Yet, the layouts intrigue, aligned to cardinal directions, as if attuned to magnetic fields or solstices, echoing later megalithic sites. Did these builders sense Earth's subtle energies, geomantic forces that modern dowsers claim amplify well-being? In the Americas, Clovis caches buried toolkits from 13,000 years ago show fluted points stored ritually, perhaps offerings to ensure successful migrations across Beringia. The Anzic burial in Montana, with over 100 artifacts including red ochre-covered points, suggests funerary rites honoring the hunt, but the child's genome links to all Native Americans, a genetic bottleneck, raising questions. Was this a deliberate selection? Survivors of a cull where only adaptable lineages endured. Cultural expressions burst forth in ways that tantalize, none more so than cave art, where walls became canvases for visions that transcend time. Lascaux in France, sealed for 17,000 years until 1940 discovery, boasts over 600 paintings and 1,500 engravings, horses galloping in herds, aurochs with twisted horns, and abstract signs like dots and grids that defy interpretation. Created 20,000 years ago with manganese and charcoal pigments blown through tubes for shading, these scenes pulse with motion, as if capturing shamanic trances where artists journeyed to spirit realms. The sorcerer figure, a hybrid human-animal with antlers, evokes therianthropy, shape-shifting beliefs persisting in folklore. But what messages hide here? Some scholars see star maps in the dots, aligning to Pleiades or Orion during equinoxes, suggesting astronomical calendars predating agriculture. Others detect entoptic patterns, geometric hallucinations from altered states induced by flickering torches or hallucinogens like fly agaric mushrooms. Abundant in birch forests, curiosity swells. Were these rites to summon game, or portals to parallel dimensions, as quantum theorists speculate, where consciousness bridges realities? The Chauvet Cave, 36,000 years old, features hand stencils in red, negative imprints like ghostly presences. Were they signatures of individuals, or invocations binding the living to ancestors? Venus figurines amplify the mystery. These voluptuous carvings from 28,000 years ago, like the Willendorf Venus in Austria, 4 inches of limestone, exaggerated hips and breasts symbolizing fertility, yet faceless, as if representing an archetype rather than a person. Found across Europe to Siberia, over 200 exist, some with braided hair or headdresses, crafted from ivory, bone, or clay. The Hohlfels Venus, 35,000 years old from Germany, doubles as a pendant, loop for wearing personal talismans perhaps. Interpretations vary, mother goddesses for matriarchal societies, or self-portraits by women emphasizing reproductive power. But delve into the enigmatic. Their proportions defy realism, hips wider than shoulders, suggesting symbolic exaggeration codes for lunar cycles, 28 days matching menstrual rhythms. Some see extraterrestrial influences, proportions echoing grey alien descriptions in modern abductions, as if ancient encounters seeded these icons. The Lion Man of Hohenstein-Stadel, 40,000 years old, a ivory hybrid of human and feline, stands 11 inches, evidence of theriomorphic deities or shamanic transformations. Burials add layers. Sungir in Russia, 30,000 years ago, features adolescents interred with thousands of ivory beads, fox teeth, and spears, elaborate grave goods implying belief in afterlife. Red ochre staining bones for symbolic rebirth. Were these rites to appease ice spirits, or echoes of lost lore from African origins, where sapiens first emerged? Language and lore likely flowered in oral traditions, sagas recited around fires, preserving migration routes and star knowledge. The Ainu of Japan, with Ice Age roots via Sunderland, retain myths of bear gods' connections to cave bear cults in Europe. Social structures intrigue, egalitarian bands, yet Venus figures suggest female centrality, perhaps priestesses guiding rituals. Toolkits evolved Aurignacian blades from 40,000 years ago, microblades for composite weapons, efficiency born of necessity. But anomalies persist. The Ishango bone from Congo, 20,000 years old, notched in patterns suggesting math, lunar calendar, or prime numbers. Did Ice Age minds grasp abstraction earlier than credited? Mobility defined them, seasonal camps following herds, like Pavlov in Czechia, 25,000 years ago, with tent rings and hearths. Yet, semi-permanent sites like Kostenki in Russia show bone houses lasting generations. Diet diversified, nets for fish, snares for birds, gathered berries fermented into early brews. Dental ware shows grit from ground grains, hinting proto-farming. Mysteries culminate in symbolic explosions. Blombo's cave in South Africa, 75,000 years old, yields engraved ochre and shell beads jewelry as identity markers. Did these signify clans or magical protections? The Blombos, hashtag engravings, cross-hatched lines, mirror modern neural patterns in creativity, innate human urge, or downloaded from collective unconscious. As warming ensued, adaptations shifted. Boats from dugout logs navigated rising rivers, foreshadowing seafaring. But questions linger. Why such rapid cultural leaps? Alien intervention, as ancient astronaut theorists claim, gifting fire or art, or psychic evolution. Ice Age stresses awakening latent abilities. Genetic studies show Neanderthal interbreeding boosted immunity but added risks, hybrid vigor fueling innovation. These humans, forged in fire against ice, wove cultures rich with enigma, their legacies in our genes and myths. What secrets did they whisper to the winds, now echoing in our dreams? The Ice Age's human story is one of triumph laced with the unknown, inviting endless wonder about the sparks that ignited our spirit amid the freeze. Picture the roar of 1,000 waterfalls unleashed at once, A wall of water hundreds of feet high, barreling down valleys, scouring bedrock and reshaping continents in a matter of days, leaving behind scars that still whisper of ancient fury. This was no ordinary deluge. This was the cataclysmic outburst of glacial Lake Agassiz, a behemoth body of meltwater trapped behind ice dams. Its collapse around 8,200 years ago, flooding vast swaths of North America, and perhaps seeding the very legends of a worldwide flood that haunt human memory to this day. But what if these torrents were not mere accidents of warming ice, but harbingers of deeper forces, cosmic impacts, forgotten technologies, or even divine wrath unleashing waters that drowned secrets we are only now beginning to fathom? As we plunge into the harrowing floods of the Ice Age, the line between natural disaster and enigmatic intervention blurs, inviting us to question whether these events were random chaos or calculated resets, designed to erase traces of worlds before our own. Glacial Lake Agassiz stands as the titan among these watery spectres, a freshwater sea larger than all the modern Great Lakes combined, sprawling over 440,000 square kilometers across what is now Manitoba, Ontario, and North Dakota. Formed as the Laurentide ice sheet retreated around 13,000 years ago, it pooled meltwater from crumbling glaciers, its depths reaching hundreds of feet, contained only by fragile barriers of ice and moraine. The pressure built inexorably, trillions of gallons straining against the dams until, in a series of cataclysmic breaches, the lake erupted. The first major outburst, around 12,900 years ago, coincided suspiciously with the onset of the Younger Dryas cold snap, sending floods roaring through the Mackenzie River Valley into the Arctic Ocean, chilling global currents and perhaps triggering the abrupt freeze that interrupted the planet's warming. But the grandest rupture came later, 8,200 years ago, when the eastern dams failed, channeling waters through the Hudson Bay into the Atlantic, a deluge estimated at 100,000 cubic meters per second, dwarfing the Amazon's flow and raising global sea levels by up to 1 meter in weeks. Imagine the terror. Indigenous peoples fleeing as valleys filled like bathtubs, boulders the size of houses tumbling like pebbles, entire forests uprooted and carried away. The aftermath carved the landscape we see today. The Great Lakes themselves are remnants, their basins gouged deeper by these floods, while underwater canyons in the Hudson Shelf bear testament to the torrent's path. Yet, the enigma deepens. Why did this coincide with black mats of carbon in sediments worldwide, layers rich in nanodiamonds and iridium, markers of extraterrestrial impact? Proponents of the Younger Dryas comet theory argue a fragmented bolide slammed into the ice sheet, vaporizing dams and unleashing the lake's fury, a cosmic trigger for biblical-scale floods. Could ancient observers have witnessed fire from the sky preceding the waters, inspiring tales of gods hurling thunderbolts before deluges? The Columbia River Gorge in the Pacific Northwest bears similar scars, a dramatic canyon etched by repeated outbursts from glacial Lake Missoula, a Montana basin dammed by the Cordilleran ice sheet around 15,000 years ago. This lake, 3,000 square kilometers and over 600 meters deep in places, burst forth in cycles every few decades. Each flood known as the Missoula floods, releasing waters at 10 times the combined flow of all Earth's rivers, velocities reaching 100 kilometers per hour. Over 40 such events sculpted the channeled scablands, a bizarre terrain of stripped basalt plateaus, dry waterfalls like the 800-meter-wide Dry Falls, once the world's largest and erratic boulders, deposited hundreds of kilometers downstream. Geologist J. Harlan Bretz first proposed this in the 1920s, facing ridicule for his outrageous hypothesis of megafloods, only vindicated decades later by aerial surveys revealing the scale. But probe the mystery. Native American legends of the Salish people speak of a great flood sent by the Creator to punish wickedness. Survivors clinging to mountaintops as waters reshaped the land, echoes of Noah, yet predating biblical contact. Was this cultural memory of real events, or something more? Some theorists link it to Atlantean influences, suggesting advanced refugees from a sinking continent engineered dams or channels, their failures unleashing the floods as karmic backlash. The Scablands' eerie moon-like features fuel speculation of ancient energy experiments, ley lines converging here, perhaps harnessing glacial power for lost tech, backfiring in deluges that buried evidence under silt. Europe's tales intertwine with the bursting of proglacial lakes, like the Baltic Ice Lake, dammed by Scandinavian ice around 12,000 years ago. Its drainage through Sweden, carving the Yoldia Sea and triggering salinity shifts that altered ecosystems. The final outburst, around 11,500 years ago, flooded the North Sea lowlands, perhaps accelerating Doggerland's submersion and inspiring Germanic flood myths, like the Oera Linda book's tales of Atland, a northern realm drowned by moral decay. Curiosity arises. Viking sagas describe Midgard's creation from chaos, waters receding to reveal lands, metaphors for Ice Age thaws, or veiled histories of survivors. In Siberia, the West Siberian Glacial Lake, 880,000 square kilometers blocked by ice damming the Ob and Yenisei rivers, burst repeatedly, floods racing to the Arctic and cooling climates. Indigenous Evenki folklore speaks of water spirits unleashing deluges to cleanse the world, shamans placating them with rituals. Did these stem from witnessed events, or psychic visions of impending repeats? South America's Andean glaciers birthed lakes like Tauca in Bolivia, covering 175,000 square kilometers around 16,000 years ago. Its drainage carving salt flats like Uyuni, the world's largest. Inca myths of Viracocha creating humanity after a flood mirror this, waters receding to reveal the highlands. But enigma lurks. Nazca lines in Peru, visible only from air, align with solstices drawn by post-flood cultures remembering glacial cycles. Oceania's sparse glaciers left fewer lakes, but Sahul's rising seas flooded coastal plains. Aboriginal dreamtime stories of the rainbow serpent, carving rivers with floods, memories of outbursts from Tasmanian ice. These floods birthed global legends. Sumerian Gilgamesh, where Utnapishtim survives on an ark. Hindu Manu warned by a fish. Aztec 5 suns ending in deluge. Plato's Atlantis sinks in a day, perhaps echoing Mediterranean lake bursts if Gibraltar dammed. The biblical Noah, around 2348 BCE by some chronologies, aligns with Black Sea flooding around 7,600 years ago, when Mediterranean breached the Bosporus, raising levels 60 meters. Deluge evidence? Ryan and Pittman's theory posits refugees spreading farming and languages, but skeptics note timeline mismatches. Conspiracy angles tantalize. Were floods engineered? Ancient astronaut theorists claim. Anunnaki manipulated ice for mining. Floods as population control. Harp-like tech in antiquity. Vibrating dams to collapse. The Sphinx's water erosion, dated to 10,000 years ago by Robert Schoch, suggests pre-dynastic floods scouring Egypt. Göbekli Tepe's T-pillars, 11,600 years old, depict Bag's comet symbols, warning of impacts triggering deluges. Modern parallels alarm. Greenland's melt could mimic Agassiz, stalling Gulf Stream and freezing Europe. 2024's record Antarctic losses predict sea rises, but submarine volcanoes under ice discovered in 2022 might accelerate, natural or induced. Geoengineering trials, like stratospheric aerosols, mirror volcanic cooling during Ice Age testing for manufactured floods. These deluges, from Agassiz to Missoula, weave science with myth, each outburst a question, accident or intent. As waters receded, they left fertile soils birthing civilizations, but also buried secrets, sunken cities, erased histories. What if the next flood looms, not from ice, but our actions, echoing ancient warnings in a cycle of renewal and ruin? The enigmas persist, drawing us into depths where floods conceal as much as they reveal, forever teasing the boundaries of what we know. As we pause by these ancient waters, dear listener, where are you joining me from tonight? A city aglow with lights, or a quiet countryside under a blanket of stars? What time is it there, as we ponder these timeless tales together? Venture with me across an endless sea of swaying grasses, where the wind carries the thunderous footfalls of herds numbering in the thousands, their shadows stretching long under a sun that hangs low and pale, as if reluctant to warm a world teetering on the edge of eternal frost. This is the Mammoth Steppe, a colossal ecosystem spanning 3 continents, a living mosaic of life that defied the Ice Age's grip for tens of thousands of years, yet one that harbors secrets of a hidden paradise, a lost Eden perhaps buried beneath Antarctic ice, where bizarre plants and creatures whisper of alternate evolutions that could upend our understanding of life's origins on this planet. What forbidden fruits grew in these shadowed realms? And why do echoes of them surface in myths of gardens untouched by time, tempting us to wonder if the steppe was not just a survival ground, but a gateway to realms where nature experimented with forms we can scarcely imagine? The Mammoth Steppe, often called the steppe tundra by those who study its frozen remnants, was no barren wasteland but a vibrant, pulsating expanse that stretched from the Iberian Peninsula through Eurasia to the Yukon in North America, covering over 10 million square kilometers at its zenith around 20,000 years ago. This was a biome born of paradox, cold enough to preserve permafrost beneath the soil, yet dry and windswept, with precipitation so scant that forests could not take root, giving way instead to a carpet of hardy grasses, sedges, and low shrubs that clung tenaciously to life. These plants, like the woolly bluebells and Arctic sage, evolved thick cuticles to retain moisture and deep roots to tap into frozen aquifers, blooming in explosive bursts during the short summers, when the sun circled endlessly above the horizon. Pollen cores drilled from Siberian lakes reveal a diversity rivaling modern prairies, over 200 species per square meter, in some spots fueled by nutrient-rich loess soils blown in from glacial outwash, creating a fertile base that supported biomass densities higher than today's African savannas. But peer closer, these grasses harbored enigmas, like symbiotic fungi that allowed them to photosynthesize in sub-zero twilight, or chemical defenses against herbivores that modern labs struggle to replicate. Could these be relics of a more ancient flora, perhaps seeded from isolated refugia during earlier interglacials, carrying genetic codes that hint at lost ecosystems where plants communicated through underground networks, sharing warnings of approaching cold snaps? Amid this verdant sea roamed the architects of its dynamism, the Megafauna, whose grazing and trampling shaped the land like living sculptors. Woolly mammoths, the steppe's namesake, moved in matriarchal herds of up to 50, their curved tusks ploughing furrows to expose fresh shoots, inadvertently fertilizing the soil with their dung, which teemed with microbes that broke down tough cellulose and enriched the earth. A single mammoth could consume 200 kilograms of vegetation daily, their selective browsing preventing shrub overgrowth and maintaining the open vistas that allowed sunlight to penetrate and sustain the understory. Bison, woolly rhinoceroses, and wild horses complemented this, their hooves aerating the soil and dispersing seeds across vast distances, creating a feedback loop where animal movement perpetuated the grassland's health. Predators wove through this tapestry, packs of cave hyenas crunching bones for marrow, their laughs a chilling nocturne, or short-faced bears, opportunistic omnivores that scavenged kills and foraged berries, their presence ensuring no single species dominated. The steppe's productivity was staggering. Estimates from fossil pollen suggest it supported densities of large herbivores up to 10 times those of modern tundra, a caloric bounty that fueled not just bodies but perhaps minds, as early humans tapped into this abundance for sustenance and inspiration. Yet, the steppe's vitality raises profound curiosities. How did such a harsh environment birth this Eden-like profusion? The answer lies in its microclimates, pockets of warmth from south-facing slopes or river valleys, where willows and dwarf birches formed sheltered groves, havens for insects like dung beetles that recycled nutrients at astonishing rates. Fossilized beetle remains from Yukon sites, preserved in permafrost, show assemblages more diverse than today's Arctic, including species now extinct, their iridescent shells hinting at pollination networks that rivaled tropical rainforests. Birds added to the chorus, migratory flocks of snow geese blanketing the skies, their droppings nitrogen boosting the soil, while ptarmigans camouflaged in white plumage scavenged seeds. Aquatic edges teemed with life beavers damming streams to create wetlands, fostering fish like Arctic char that leaped in crystalline pools. But delve into the anomalies. Pollen from 2020 excavations in Alaska reveals exotic spores, plants akin to those in modern Patagonia, suggesting wind-blown migrations or perhaps ancient corridors through ice-free zones. What if these were deliberate introductions, seeds carried by human wanderers or even avian vectors programmed by evolutionary whims we cannot grasp? The steppe's lost Eden aspect intensifies when we turn southward, to Antarctica, a continent now shrouded in ice 2 kilometers thick, yet geological whispers suggest it once hosted a verdant paradise. During the Eocene, 50 million years ago, Antarctica bloomed with temperate forests of ferns and conifers, but Ice Age echoes persist in subglacial samples. The 2016 drilling at Allen Hills unearthed plant fossils from 14,000 years ago, pollen of southern beech and protea-like shrubs, implying ice-free oases where temperatures hovered above freezing. Lake Vostok, sealed for 15 million years, yielded microbes in 2012 that metabolize hydrogen in darkness, but rumors from Russian teams speak of anomalous DNA sequences, hybrid forms blending bacterial and eukaryotic traits, as if an isolated biosphere evolved in parallel. What strange flora thrived here? Seismic maps reveal subglacial valleys like the Gamburtsev Mountains, potentially harboring geothermal vents that sustained warm pockets, gardens where bioluminescent fungi illuminated cavernous greenhouses, nurturing species extinct elsewhere. Satellite anomalies from 2023 show magnetic fluctuations over these sites, fueling speculation of hidden ecosystems, perhaps with carnivorous plants trapping ancient insects or symbiotic algae forming living carpets. Myths amplify this. Eden's biblical garden, placed in the east, could metaphorically reference a southern paradise. Waters from 4 rivers, echoing Antarctic melt streams. Gnostic texts describe a pre-flood realm of perfect harmony, corrupted by knowledge parallels to Antarctic isolation. Conspiracy lenses see Operation High Jump in 1946, Admiral Byrd's expedition, allegedly encountering lost worlds with exotic flora, reports suppressed as UFO bases. Byrd's diary leaks describe warm valleys with lakes and vegetation, dismissed as forgery but intriguing given 2021 flyovers spotting pollen in ice cracks. Back on the steppe, symbiotic wonders abound. Mammoth's gut bacteria, preserved in coprolites, digested cellulose efficiently. Their extinction cascading plant shifts forests encroaching as grazers vanished. Curiosity spikes. Did humans harness this, fermenting dung for fuel or medicine? Shamanic practices likely involved entheogenic plants like Arctic wormwood, inducing visions of spirit animals. The 2018 find in Wrangel Island permafrost revealed mammoth stomachs with psychedelic mushrooms, accidental ingestion, or deliberate by herders guiding herds. The steppe's avian life intrigues. Golden eagles with 8-foot wingspans preying on lemmings, their nests platforms of bones. Fossil eggs from Mongolia show clutches synchronized to solstices' celestial cues. Insects like woolly bear caterpillars froze solid in winter, thawing in spring adaptations mirroring cryonics, raising questions of suspended animation in myths. Aquatic fringes hosted otters and seals in steppe rivers, their fur trade perhaps birthing early economies. Beaver dams created mosaics, boosting biodiversity. Modern analogues in Yellowstone show wolf reintroduction, echoes steppe dynamics, predators culling herds to prevent overgrazing. But the lost Eden tantalizes most in Antarctic anomalies. 2024 sub-ice radar revealed lake networks with organic signals, perhaps algae blooms. If thawed, could they release unknown species, like the blood falls of Taylor Glacier, iron-rich brine hosting microbes alien-like life? Theories posit panspermia, seeds from space germinating in these refugia, explaining unique DNA. Steppe soils, loess-rich preserved seeds, viable after millennia. 2019 germination of 32,000-year-old silene from Siberia flowered, defying time. What other viable life hides? Permafrost viruses, revived in 2015, infected amoebas harmless. But what of human pathogens? Myths converge. Persian Avesta's paradise gardens, Norse Yggdrasil's roots in frozen realms. Did steppe nomads carry tales southward, blending with Antarctic whispers via ancient migrations? The steppe's end, forests replacing grasses 11,000 years ago, raises specters. Was this natural or accelerated by cosmic dust from comets, altering rainfall? 2022 studies link micrometeorites to plant shifts extraterrestrial fertilizers. As we traverse this living archive, the steppe and its Antarctic shadow pose endless riddles. Was it a testing ground for life's extremes, or a forgotten Eden holding keys to resurrection? Imagine the chill of a Siberian wind slicing through your coat as you stand over a crack in the permafrost. A frozen vault that has guarded its treasures for millennia, suddenly yielding a perfectly preserved wolf pup from 30,000 years ago, its fur soft and eyes closed as if in eternal slumber. What other enigmas lie entombed beneath this unyielding layer? Ancient pathogens ready to awaken, lost human artifacts hinting at forgotten migrations, or even relics of extraterrestrial origin, buried during cataclysms that reshaped our world? These are the haunting legacies of the Ice Age, etched into stone and sealed under eternal ice, where every discovery peels back layers of mystery, compelling us to ask, are these remnants mere echoes of a vanished era, or keys to unraveling forces that could alter our future in ways we cannot yet comprehend? The Ice Age's imprint on the Earth's surface is profound and pervasive, a geological testament written in the language of rock and soil, where valleys bear the unmistakable signature of glacial might. U-shaped valleys, like those in Yosemite National Park or Norway's fjords, stand as silent witnesses, broad, steep-walled troughs, carved by the relentless grind of ice sheets weighing billions of tons, moving at paces imperceptible to a human lifespan but unstoppable over centuries. Unlike the V-shaped incisions of rivers, these glacial scars reveal the ice's brute force, bulldozing bedrock and depositing moraines, ridges of debris that outline where the glaciers halted their advance. In the Alps, the Matterhorn's pyramidal peak was honed by cirque glaciers eroding from multiple sides, a process that took thousands of years, leaving behind hanging valleys where waterfalls now plunge dramatically, like Bridal Veil Fall in Yosemite, suspended as if time froze mid-motion. But curiosity stirs. Why do some valleys align with ley lines, those hypothetical energy paths ancient cultures revered? In Scotland's Glencoe, a U-shaped scar from 20,000 years ago, folklore speaks of massacres tied to geomagnetic anomalies. Could glacial carving have exposed crystalline structures, amplifying Earth's fields, influencing human events in subtle, unseen ways? Erratics add to the intrigue. These nomadic boulders transported far from their birthplaces, like the Madison Boulder in New Hampshire, a 30,000-ton granite behemoth carried 80 kilometers by the Laurentide ice sheet, scattered across landscapes from the Midwest plains to Scandinavian fields. They perch incongruously on alien bedrock, their journeys mapped through mineral signatures matching distant quarries. In 1903, the Okotoks erratic in Alberta, split like a halved melon, inspired Blackfoot legends of a giant's heart. But scientific scans reveal internal fractures from freeze-thaw cycles, raising questions. Did these rocks hold acoustic properties, resonating with low frequencies during glacial quakes, perhaps used by shamans for rituals? Modern geophones detect vibrations in similar stones, echoing ancient uses in standing circles like Avebury, built 12,000 years after the ice retreated. Coincidence? Or inherited knowledge of stone's hidden voices? Loess plains form another legacy, vast deposits of wind-blown silt from glacial grinding, blanketing regions like China's Loess Plateau or the American Midwest's Corn Belt, thicknesses reaching 200 meters. These fertile soils, rich in minerals, birthed agriculture. The Yellow River's cradle owed its bounty to Loess, eroded from Tibetan glaciers 20,000 years ago. Yet, enigmas lurk. Loess cores from Lanzhou preserve dust from African deserts, carried by jet streams, global connections hinting at atmospheric teleconnections predating our understanding. In 2022, isotopic analysis revealed extraterrestrial particles in Loess, micrometeorites spiking during cold snaps. Could cosmic dust have fertilized these plains, introducing alien elements that boosted crop yields, explaining manna from heaven myths? The Great Lakes embody watery inheritances, basins scoured by ice lobes, holding 20% of the world's fresh water. Lake Superior's depths, over 400 meters, were gouged by the Superior Lobe 20,000 years ago, its islands remnants of resistant bedrock. But probe the mysteries. Underwater LiDAR in 2019 uncovered stone circles in Lake Michigan, aligned like mini Stonehenges, dated to 9,000 years ago. Ceremonial sites submerged by rising waters, or acoustic amplifiers for rituals. Native Ojibwe legends speak of underwater spirits guarding these perhaps echoing paleo-tsunamis from glacial bursts. Permafrost's underbelly harbors the most chilling secrets, a frozen archive covering 24% of the northern hemisphere, depths to 1,500 meters in Siberia. This cryogenic vault preserves organic matter impeccably. Mammoths with intact stomachs, like the Yukagir specimen from 2005, its brain tissue yielding DNA sequences revivable in labs. In 2024, Colossal Biosciences announced mammoth-elephant hybrid plans, using permafrost genes, but ethical quandaries arise. What if revived creatures carry ancient behaviors or viruses? The 2016 Yamal anthrax outbreak from a thawed reindeer carcass 75 years old infected dozens, a stark warning. Labs have revived 30,000-year-old viruses infecting amoebas. In 2023, French researchers isolated 7 from Siberian soil, viable after millennia. What pandemics lurk? Conspiracy theorists claim governments stockpile these for bioweapons, echoing Cold War experiments. The zombie virus narrative gained traction in 2022 Netflix docs, but real science alarms. Climate models predict 50% permafrost thaw by 2100, releasing 1,600 gigatons of carbon, twice atmospheric levels, amplifying warming in a vicious loop. Human remains add poignancy. The Ice Maiden from Peru's Nevado Amparo, 500 years old, but Ice Age parallels in Siberian Princess of Ukok, 2,500 years ago, tattoos suggesting shamanic maps, but deeper. 2019's Beringian Child, 18,000 years old, DNA linking to Native Americans' migrations, etched in genes. Mysteries intensify with Little People legends, Inuit tales of Tuniat, robust predecessors displaced by thaw, perhaps Neanderthal holdouts. Antarctica's subglacial world intrigues. Over 400 lakes like Vostok, isolated 15 million years. 2012 samples showed bacteria metabolizing rock extremophiles, hinting at subsurface biospheres. Radar in 2021 revealed canyons warmer than surface, geothermal heat sustaining life. The blood falls ooze iron-rich brine, microbes thriving sands-like models for Europa's oceans. But anomalies. 1980, Thor's Vostok magnetic anomaly, a lake with unnatural symmetry, Nazi base rumors from 1938 expeditions, seeking Aryan origins. Bird's 1947 flight logs, allegedly describing green valleys, fuel hollow earth theories, portals to inner realms where Ice Age flora persists. Siberian craters from 2014, methane explosions creating 100-meter pits gates to underworld in Yakut lore. 2023 counted over 7,000, thawing, accelerating. What escapes? Rodent burrows yield 30,000-year-old seeds, germinated in 2012 silene flowers blooming anew. Could edible plants hide? Revolutionizing agriculture? Geological rebounds continue. Scandinavia rises 2 centimeters yearly from ice unload. Since 18,000 years ago, measurable tilts in buildings. Great Lakes' isostatic adjustment shifts shorelines, unearthing artifacts like 10,000-year-old canoes in Minnesota. Cultural legacies weave through. Norse sagas of Jotunheim, frost giants' realm, memories of glacial barriers. Aboriginal songlines map Sahul's lost rivers, oral GPS from 20,000 years ago. Genetic legacies. Lactose tolerance surged post-Ice Age, adapting to dairy and steppe herders. Mysteries culminate in forbidden zones. Russian zapovedniks guard permafrost sites. Rumors of anomalous artifacts. Metallic spheres from 2014 Kola borehole. Echoing orbs in Ice Age art. 2020's Landsat anomalies over Greenland show heat plumes, subglacial volcanoes, or artificial. As we trace these traces, the Ice Age's legacy emerges not as faded footprints, but vibrant enigmas, challenging us to decode the stone's stories and permafrost's whispers. What awakenings await as ice yields? Revived species, plagues, or revelations of lost kin? The marks in rock and secrets under ice beckon, promising discoveries that could redefine our narrative, forever altering the tapestry of time. Step into the stillness of a winter's night, where the air is crisp and the stars gleam like ancient sentinels, each one a silent witness to a world that once lay cloaked in ice, its secrets now stirring in the whispers of wind and the creak of thawing frost. The Ice Age, a saga spanning millions of years, was no mere chapter of cold. It was a crucible that forged continents, sculpted life, and perhaps concealed truths about our origins that we are only beginning to grasp. As we draw this journey to a close, we stand at the edge of that frozen epoch, peering into its echoes in our landscapes, our genes, and our myths, wondering if the next turn of the Earth's cosmic dance might awaken forces we cannot yet name. Could the ice return, not just as a natural cycle, but as a reckoning orchestrated by unseen hands, be they celestial, human, or something stranger still? These final reflections pull us into a tapestry of wonder, where every thread of the past weaves questions that linger, urging us to listen closely to the frost's faint murmurs and to ponder our place in a story that is far from over. The Ice Age, stretching from 2,600,000 years ago to 11,700 years ago, left marks so indelible they shape the world we walk today. Its glaciers carved the bones of the earth. U-shaped valleys like those of the Scottish Highlands or the Finger Lakes in New York, where ice-gouged basins now cradling serene waters, stand as silent testaments to a force that moved with the patience of millennia. The Laurentide ice sheet, once blanketing Canada to the Ohio River, pressed the crust downward, only for the land to rebound, still rising today at a centimeter a year in places like Hudson Bay, a slow exhale from a burden lifted 10,000 years ago. Loess soils, fine as dust and carried by glacial winds, blanket the Mississippi Valley and China's Yellow River plains, their fertility a gift from the ice, feeding crops that sustain billions. Every river that winds through these lands, from the Thames to the Columbia, follows paths traced by meltwater torrents, their courses a living map of the Ice Age's retreat. Yet, these physical scars are only part of the legacy. What of the intangible, the stories and instincts passed down through generations, encoded in our very being? The creatures of that era, the woolly mammoths with their shaggy coats, the saber-toothed cats with dagger-like fangs, and the giant sloths that dug caverns beneath the plains, were not just inhabitants but architects of their world. Their grazing kept the Mammoth Steppe vibrant, a grassland so vast it stretched from Spain to Alaska, its grasses and shrubs a symphony of life sustained by their footsteps. Fossils unearthed in 2021 from Siberia's Batagayka crater, a megaslump widening as permafrost thaws, reveal mammoth bones alongside seeds still viable after 30,000 years, a glimpse of an ecosystem that could, in theory, bloom again. But the megafauna's absence reshaped the planet as much as their presence did. When they vanished, forests encroached, carbon cycles shifted, and the steppe faded, its legacy now locked in permafrost that holds 1,600 gigatons of carbon, twice the atmosphere's load, waiting to escape as the world warms. This raises a chilling question. Could the thawing ice unleash not just greenhouse gases, but ancient pathogens, as seen in the 2016 Yamal anthrax outbreak, where a reindeer carcass revived a 75-year-old plague? Some speculate military labs study these microbes, their potential as bioweapons a dark shadow of the Ice Age's legacy. Whispers of classified projects, like Russia's Vector Institute experiments in 2022, fuel fears of engineered diseases, a conspiracy that imagines the ice as a Pandora's box, its contents poised to alter humanity's fate. Humanity itself was forged in this crucible, our ancestors crafting spears from flint and bone, painting caves with visions of beasts and stars, and weaving myths that echo across cultures. The Lascaux paintings, 20,000 years old, depict not just hunts but celestial patterns, dots aligning with constellations like Taurus, suggesting an Ice Age astronomy that guided migrations. The Venus figurines, from Siberia to Germany, with their exaggerated forms, might encode lunar cycles or spiritual archetypes, perhaps even memories of extraterrestrial visitors, as some theorists claim, seeing their shapes as echoes of beings described in modern abduction lore. These early humans crossed Beringia, a land bridge now submerged, to populate the Americas, their DNA carrying Neanderthal traces that bolstered immunity, but also vulnerabilities, a genetic whisper of ancient unions. Aboriginal songlines in Australia, mapping rivers lost to rising seas, preserve oral GPS from 20,000 years ago, a cultural thread unbroken despite the Ice Age's end. But what else did they know? The Göbekli Tepe pillars in Turkey, erected 11,600 years ago, bear carvings of comets and skulls, perhaps warnings of the Younger Dryas, impact a celestial strike. Some argue obliterated advanced societies, their ruins now underwater or buried in silt. Could these be fragments of an Atlantis? A civilization Plato described as sinking 9,000 years before his time, around 11,500 years ago, aligning with glacial floods. The Younger Dryas itself, that sudden freeze from 12,900 to 11,700 years ago, looms as a pivotal enigma. Nanodiamonds and iridium in sediments across North America suggest a comet fragmented over the Laurentide ice sheet, igniting fires and triggering Lake Agassiz's outburst, flooding coasts and chilling the planet. This event, some claim, erased a pre-flood culture, its survivors scattering knowledge encoded in myths like Noah's Ark or the Hindu Manu's fish-guided ark. Fringe theories go further. Was this a deliberate act? A cosmic intervention by entities ensuring humanity's reset? The Piri Reis map of 1513, with its ice-free Antarctic coast, hints at ancient cartography predating known civilizations, perhaps from a seafaring people who navigated Doggerland or Sunderland before their submersion. Conspiracy circles point to secret societies, like the Rosicrucians, allegedly guarding Atlantean wisdom, their symbols echoing in Ice Age art like the Swiderian culture's geometric carvings from 12,000 years ago. What if these societies still influence global policies, suppressing finds to maintain control over our narrative? The future beckons with its own uncertainties, tied to the Milankovitch cycles that drove the Ice Age's rhythm. These orbital wobbles, eccentricity every 100,000 years, obliquity every 41,000, precession every 26,000, promise another glaciation in 50,000 years, but human warming complicates this. The Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, vital for Europe's mild climate, weakens as Greenland melts, risking a paradoxical freeze by 2100 per 2024 models. Heinrich events, ice discharges every 10,000 years, loom as modern ice shelves like Thwaites Teeter, potentially raising seas 3 meters while chilling currents. But darker speculations arise. Are governments testing geoengineering, cloud seeding, or solar dimming, mimicking Ice Age cooling, as alleged in declassified 2017 DARPA files? Ancient texts, like the Vedic Yuga cycles, predict declines after golden ages, timed to orbital shifts, prophecy, or encoded science. The 2023 discovery of subglacial microbes in Greenland, thriving without light, suggests life resilient enough to outlast any freeze, but also risks. Could thawing unleash pandemics, or even DNA hinting at engineered origins, as panspermia advocates claim? As we linger in this frozen legacy, the Ice Age speaks not just of survival but of possibility. Its valleys, soils, and genes are our inheritance, but its mysteries, comets, lost cities, hidden forces suggest we are part of a larger story. What if the ice holds not just fossils, but blueprints of cycles yet to unfold, guided by hands we cannot see? The Antarctic's Gamburtsev Mountains, buried under ice, pulse with magnetic anomalies on 2025 satellite scans, geothermal vents, or remnants of ancient tech. Siberian craters, spewing methane since 2014, evoke Yakut tales of underworld gates, portals to realms where Ice Age survivors linger. This journey through the Ice Age leaves us at a crossroads, where science meets the unknown, and every discovery is a question. The frost's whispers endure in our landscapes, our myths, our very blood, urging us to listen, to dream, to wonder what lies beyond the next horizon. As the stars wheel above, mirroring the slow dance of orbits, we carry the Ice Age within us. Its echoes a reminder that our story is but one verse in a saga written in stone, ice, and time, forever inviting us to chase its secrets into the silent night. If these frozen tales have stirred your curiosity, dear listener, I'd love for you to subscribe to Mystery History for Sleep and ring the bell to stay with us for more whispers from the past. Tell me, what hour is it where you're listening, and what Ice Age mystery lingers in your thoughts as you drift toward dreams?